In today's video, we discuss the new financial reality businesses must learn when adopting AI. We discuss going beyond subscriptions to actual token and credit allocations. We explore how agents and agent workflows are running up costs much faster than expected. And we look at new ways of financial budgeting to accommodate this new way of working. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, brought to you by 0to60.ai, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits of artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye. I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're going to talk about the new financial reality for businesses in this age of AI. And what I'm talking about is really something that many companies haven't really thought of. Is it's no longer about just providing however many people in your organization a license to whatever large language model, right? Or even additional tools, whether it's video, audio, or so on. It goes beyond that because now it's like we're having a shift from conversations with AI, whatever large language model you're using, to really completing business tasks. And that is actually costing or going to cost significant, a different amount of money. And you can start seeing it from the AI labs. So for example, the big one was Anthropic and Claude Code, because more and more people were starting to use it for non-technical applications. And those who are using it for technical applications were just starting to go to town with the new agent features in it, to the point where they had to make some tough decisions in terms of, one, rate limiting people. A simple $20 plan doesn't cut it for all the stuff that you want to do. Even $100 plan, I've been getting rate limited. So, you'll have to bump up to the $200 plan to really do all these different things, to the point where, like, oh, they wouldn't even allow you to use your Claude subscription in another software harness or another environment, like for example OpenClaw, where you have to start using your API tokens, right? And even in OpenAI, where they released a tool called workspace agents in ChatGPT, but that is now entirely by credits, tokens, or how much it costs versus just part of your subscription or your enterprise subscription. And we're starting to see pieces where it's more pay as you go than part of a typical license that software in the past have seen. And obviously it's because of the inference and the compute, and whenever somebody asks something or asks whatever tool to create a stupid meme or a stupid video, it's taking compute, which costs money. And this is why all these data centers are being created. By the way, on this note, I just saw NVIDIA has this program where they're allowing homeowners to apply to put a small data center in their home. So instead of building massive data centers, you have neighborhoods of people with small little data centers that they're pulling from, that you can use too, and you have to pay for it, but you can use. It's an interesting model, because I was like, I could see a whole, like, the conspiracy theory would be like, imagine NVIDIA with all its billions working with a property developer and creating a brand new environment. But the caveat is that each of their homes, or maybe a percentage of the homes, has some sort of mini data center connected to it for maybe a discount. So it's like, oh, instead of you paying $500,000, we'll sell it to you for $400,000, but you have to have a data center included, which kind of crazy. But anyway,
the whole financial shift, I don't think this is a surprise. I think that some people might find it a bit of a surprise, but I mean, nothing comes for free. And I think that's the thing, is people start getting rate limited. They're like, what? When you watch television for years, we watched TV commercials because it was the TV commercial advertising revenue that paid for the production. You can't, or you're paying a subscription to Netflix, but you can only use it in so many households because they need to generate revenue to cover the costs. And so I think the thing with AI is that paying for tokens, for credits, I think is something that people should expect to do, but I still think the big benefit is weighing that out against the return on that investment. I still think that we even say that with some companies is they like $25 a month. Really, that's what I get to pay per employee. And it's like, well, yeah, but they're doing the work that was traditionally taking them 8 hours. So what did you pay them for 8 hours versus the $25 a month kind of a thing? I still think there's a huge return on investment, but I don't, costs are going to go up, but I think this is something that companies need to be aware of.
I do think there's a lot of articles about the subsidized AI is nearly over, and it reminds me of the phone, right? Like how many times, like if you purchase a new Samsung, you purchase a new iPhone, the carrier will subsidize it for you for like say 3 years, right? They're like, oh, we'll pay it, and you don't have to pay anything. You just have to keep paying your monthly telephone bill or your data bill, and then in the end, they're going to come out ahead versus the phone. But I'm starting to see less of that, where you actually have to pay a little bit more for the phone because one, they're not going to get as much return, and I think the same thing's happening with AI. It's like, hold on a second. Even people were calculating this. It's like if you were paying for the $200 max plan for whatever tool, the rate that you get for that max plan, apparently, someone did calculations. You'll have to, verify this. It's around $2,000 to $3,000 of token costs.
Right.
So you still are getting subsidied. Like if you pay $200 and you get 2,000, that's pretty good. But what some people were doing was they were using it, and they were using it as if it's $10,000, $15,000. That's never going to fly with a $200 account. It's just not. It's that the companies have to make money, and as more and more compute comes on, it would be insane for like, oh, we're just going to free for all this. No. Like this is going to be a cost to this.
Well, and I won't get political here, but I think I get frustrated a lot of times because people are like, we need better roads, we need more school teachers, but I don't want to increase my taxes and I don't want to put any more, power pipelines in. It's like, okay, but money doesn't grow on trees. And it's the same thing in the AI space. I mean, a lot of these AI labs have given us great access because they're trying to capture the market and get us hooked. But eventually you're going to have to pay for the service. So again, I still think it goes back to that. You're still getting a huge benefit even. I think it is still subsidized to some degree. But what you can use the technology for, I think you just want to get smarter in the future. And you always talk about this is, don't waste a bunch of tokens and costs on solutions that are going to save you 2 minutes. Spend the money and the investment of time on the solutions that are going to save you 2 hours or 20 hours
And
using.
this is where, some of this you can train on because like, we're like, okay, do you need the highest model
Right.
to do this? So we got one client that they actually nearly got rate limited. They were getting close because people were using, in this case, they were on ChatGPT. People were using ChatGPT Pro to come up with like very simple business plans. And I was like, you'd only really use Pro. I would always think, it's like, are you doing thermonuclear research?
Yeah.
Because if you are, hey, yeah, go to town because a Pro, you get the maximum intelligence. But do you really need Pro to? And I get it. It's like, well, why can't I use the maximum intelligence to do my business plan? It's like, but there's also a rule of diminishing returns, because just because you have the most compute doesn't mean that you use, like, simplified example, if you want to say 2 + 2 = 4, do you really need the compute that it would take to solve thermonuclear research into something that is just 2 + 2 = 4? And I would say most businesses' business plans isn't that complex.
Well, no, that's like driving a semi truck to go get groceries. Like
Yes.
you could drive the smart car. And I think that's what maybe people don't understand. And that's where a bit of education with businesses is that understand what the different tools are and where some of your token usage is so that you're using it efficiently. And you're right, not using, these complex, heavy thinking models, heavy token use models for very simple tasks.
You actually touched on another point here. We were talking about costs to do the tasks, I think, versus the employee time to do it. And in some cases, the employee themselves, right? Because it's like, okay, I think a lot of businesses may be starting to think of, it's like, okay, this is how much, say, Jason and Amanda are using whatever tool, Claude Code or Claude, and the cost is, say, $7,000 a month between the two, right? So now you're like any CFO would be like, okay, so they're spending $3,500 per on average per month. This is how much it's going to cost. So now the cost is like, oh, we need to hire a new person for this. There's a cost to it. It's like, okay, so this employee probably is going to use $3,500 in AI costs. And I want to showcase that not as an example of like, oh, could we cut one of these people and have AI do it? No, it's not that. It's more of like, I think businesses have to realize you're going to have to rethink maybe your AI line item instead of here's how many licenses we're going to provide. And, it's super easy. 35 licenses, $20 a license. This is the final cost. Versus now it's like, no, because I may have to provide licenses for some, but for the power users or specialized users, I'll have to put maybe 5,000 per employee, or maybe there's a pool that gets drawn down. And what happens when that pool runs out? Do you stop? I don't know. I think that's a new way of thinking for some businesses too.
Well, you know what? And it's because that just made me think about how many companies we've come across where they're like, yeah, we use Microsoft, and so we turn Copilot on for everybody. So you've got 100 employees, you're paying an extra whatever $35 a month for, and only 20 people are using it. Again, you got to put a bit more thought into this, but for businesses, maybe you only buy those 20 licenses. And we have a client that actually has 5 approved AI models, and people can apply to use it, but they've got to provide proof that they're actually using the model. They're not just signing up, because if you're not using it, why are we paying for it? And again, that's something that I think businesses have to think about.
The quote unquote savings that you would have instead of you paying, let's say, 100 and only 20 licenses, the amount that you would have saved from those 75 who, let's say, aren't using it, you may have to put that into a pool or provide of the 20, maybe 3 or 4 of them may need $2, $3, $4,000 because they're actually doing the extra stuff. But I'm actually thinking of this 3 to 5 years out, because it isn't going to be just 2 or 3 people. It could be now 15, 20% of your company is doing work that goes beyond your subscription. That I think most of the AI labs now are like, okay, it's pay as you go. So
Yep.
it's like, but what happens when that becomes 50%? What happens when that becomes 75%? Granted, 7 to 10 years, maybe. That's a brand new way to think about your finances per
Yep.
cost, overhead, and capital costs too.
And again, we always talk about this is that AI is a different way of thinking. It's something we've never seen before. Because again, traditionally businesses will commit to a system, they'll do their due diligence, and they'll say, "Great, we're going to use this for the next 3 to 5 years, and everybody's going to use it." Whereas now we're seeing these pockets where you've got 10 people using Claude because they're doing a lot of stuff in Excel. You got, the marketing department's using Gemini because they're wanting to use, image gen. And so it's very different, and there's a little bit of work to it, but really it isn't that difficult. And I think the biggest thing, and we always talk about this with every client, is don't do AI for the sake of doing AI. Do AI to make sure you're getting a return on your investment. And I think that's the thing when you talk about some of these costs. Sure, there's going to be costs, but we've seen it over and over again. There's huge cost savings.
Yeah.
Even if you're spending $500 or $1,000 or $5,000 a month in AI token fees with different models, you should be seeing a 10x, 20x return on that investment from the efficiencies that you're getting from it.
And that leads to another point too, where, you know, it may sound ridiculous, like, oh, a $5,000 a month subscription fee, right? But that makes sense if you're already paying $7,000 in API costs for, say, 1 or 2 employees who are actually doing, the amount of work, which if you look at it from a whole, $5,000 to $7,000 is saving you from having, let's say, one client is losing money, say in the 6-figure range. Imagine them paying 5,000 to 7,000 to fix that 6-figure, 7-figure issue. They'll take that every single time. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
if we that, and to them, it's like, instead of adding people to try to fix this, I have 2 or 3 people in our team, and that's what we're going to have to pay for. And it can range up too, because then I remember there was talk last year of a $20,000 subscription for, say, a research assistant. So it's not even business tasks. But it's like, okay, how much does it cost to do research for a major university a year? How much is it
Right.
going to cost, right? 100,000, 500,000. So if you have a $20,000 a month or a year thing, that if you're spending $1 million a year doing like really high intense research, that would probably be a no-brainer for you. So these things are, yeah, it's just the new financial reality of like, and I hate this because when we go into like, oh, how much does an employee cost, right? Like 100,000 plus benefits and so on. It's like, we're not talking about that. We're more talking about, well, it's if costing the company already this amount of money, and we're not talking people, we're talking like operational costs, then why wouldn't you bring a $20,000 like research
Yep.
agent,
Yep.
right?
Well, yeah, totally. And I mean, I think that's, when you think about, I think where some of those opportunities are, like you might pay, and I hate to pin them here, but I mean, you might use an outside consultant, like one of the big four, the McKinsey or KPMG or whatnot, $250,000 for a report. Well, if you can get a lot of that information yourself and your cost is $8,000 in token costs, well, there's a very clear, benefit there. I think the other thing too is also having a well-documented strategy. And that's what we talk to clients about all the time, is that you can spend a lot of money and waste a lot of money if you're just going out willy-nilly trying different projects. I mean, the process we go through with clients is we actually identify the quick wins, the low-hanging fruit. And I think if you go through that process and look at all of your repetitive data-driven predictive tasks, it's a little bit easier to kind of go, okay, we're going to spend the money in the areas where we know we're going to get a decent return, and not just try some experimental project where you might waste. And we have clients saying that, we brought in some AI consultants and we did this thing and it was a waste of $50,000.
Yeah.
Well, probably because you didn't really think about what you wanted to accomplish.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's obviously in the end, just like anything else, will save you money in the long run. Because we've been too many businesses that, right, we're going to deploy a bunch of licenses. Now we have AI covered. It's like, well, no, just like any other software, you have to actually plan it out. Who's going to use it? What's it going to be used for? Even like just a simple CRM, right? Like think about like Salesforce itself. How much people are wasting money spending on it, not because Salesforce is bad, but because they forgot, like we always talk about, the systems around it. So did you create a system? Like in terms of a system, do you have regular training? Have you really taken into account of the new financial reality of, bringing in an AI tool and people using it, right? So have you developed those systems versus, oh, I'm just going to spend like, what's the best tool is not really the best thing to ask, which will obviously cost you money in the long run. Because if you aren't flexible, which we really try to tell clients, I know it's very hard for a lot of companies who have been used to RFP, going to use a tool for 3 to 5 years. Like, no, you got to be able to be nimble, or else you're going to, like, from a financial sense, you could be spending a lot more than what you could be doing, but you got to just change how you operate.
But, and there are, just one final point for me is that I think there are some costs to not investing money. You are going to have some failures. Like if you go out and you implement 10 AI test projects, there is a good chance that 4 or 5 of them might fail or might not give you the results you're looking for, but you might get that 3 or 4 that provide those significant results. So I think there's a cost of not moving as well. So I think that it's just a balancing act that I think business leaders need to look at.
Learn more about implementing AI for your business by watching these videos here. Enjoy today's episode? Want to learn how AI can impact your company? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.